Greetings from the void. My name is Alpha. I bet you all weren't expecting to hear this voice again. I certainly wasn't. And nope, no, that is not the topic of today's video. I have no idea where the hell you all came from, but you're here now, I suppose. Anyways, do you like speedrunning? Have you ever played through a game and decided to go back through it again and just see how fast you could like beat it out of sheer curiosity? Well, I haven't. So that's entirely why, for some insane reason, I decided to join a speedrun competition. Trust me, this story was wild enough for me to make a video out of it, so stick around if you dare, because this is about to go into some unhealthy obsessive practices of mine. In short, do not attempt to do what I did later towards the end of the story. Without further ado, let us begin. So, my side of the story starts way before it officially began. The date was August 3rd, 2024. I woke up, took a shower, had breakfast, stared in horror as over 2,000 of you suddenly watched my Warframe shitpost. You know, the usual morning routine. Anyways, after uploading that said video, my friend Marsum, who some of you may know, who was helping me grind out and optimize my build on Warframe. And we stayed up super late to do it too, to the point where we essentially missed out on our weekly D&D session. Trust me, this story will get back to the topic at hand rather quickly. So, after a bit, it was decided that we would all go to bed and get some rest. As I hopped off to go and do that, in the corner of my eye noticed something odd. My Crowsworn demo had an update. Now, let me explain why this was weird. For those who don't have context, Crowsworn is a grim fantasy Metroidvania, which trailer I'm throwing on screen right now, that raised about $1 million rather alarmingly quickly on their Kickstarter campaign. I funded this campaign as well at the Magpie tier reward level as this event was going on. At Magpie tier, I was given access to a certain benefit that made this video possible: the beta builds. I have already made a video a while back on a specific part of the beta build known as the boss demo, and later on there would be another update to this demo that added some Frankenstein mesh of level environments for the player to journey through and experience certain gameplay elements that were not previously explored in the boss demo. As Mongoose Rodeo and his team were designing the game and updating us on the progress they've made on Kickstarter, over on their Twitter, they would randomly release Steam keys to the demo, as well as the goofy Mario Kart style game known as Crowkart. Point being, access to this boss demo was very limited to only those who funded the Kickstarter and were quick enough on Twitter. So, yeah. Now that I've explained what this demo essentially is, why is it weird that it was updating? Well, for one, this game did not update often, as Mongoose Rodeo and his team are likely mainly focused on constructing, the actual full game. Mad respect to those lads. Additionally, there was nothing on Twitter or on Kickstarter that would explain what this update essentially changed, and there wasn't a changelog explaining what was different about this update. This was outrageous! Absurd, even! A mystery I could not let go unturned. I would be off to explore this update immediately! And I went to bed and completely forgot about the update like an absolute imbecile. 2 days after I completely forgot about my game updating and my desire to explore it, a Kickstarter update from Mongoose Rodeo would be announced. It appears that the update had not forgotten about me. This update would go on to explain a special stream approaching on the 9th, with the developers as well as explaining the update I was so curious about. In this update, Mongoose Rodeo added a timer in the bottom right of the screen that activated the moment it recognized the first button input pressed on the controller. This was to be for a speedrunning competition where players will compete to see who can kill the boss the fastest. The top 5 players will be rewarded with demo and Crowkart keys, as well as the chance to play Crowkart with the devs on the upcoming stream. Now that everything has been explained, I can simply go back to my daily routine, except that never happened. You see, I was about to shrug this off, but then the last functioning brain cell in my head had a good point. Since the demo is so limited access, you might be able to stand a chance against a few professional speedrunners you might come across. Upon this realization, I was competing against a small portion of the world, rather than, the entire planet. Something possessed me to give this competition a shot. I was merely aiming for at least 2nd to 4th place on the leaderboards on speedrun.com. I did not want to be the world record holder, period, because I felt like if I got 1st on the competition, then people would likely mistake me for having godlike skills that I probably didn't have. Well, at least, so I thought. So I began by reading the rules thoroughly of the speedrun and any guides they had prepared for me, as I had never made a speedrun.com account. What I did know beforehand going into this website is that lightly bending or breaking any rules could invalidate your run, so I wanted to be well informed and prepared if I was ever going to be on the leaderboards in the first place. After all the setup was done, it was time for me to join the Discord and start the grind. Upon joining the Discord, I was introduced to one of the many important characters in this story. A Discord user by the name of A Friendly Bear, aka Crowsong on YouTube, was theory crafting. I wasn't sure of what exactly, but looking at the chat history, I presumed he was seeking something called a one cycle. We will explain this shortly. So, now we have my first ever submission on speedrun.com. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. So, first off, I'm not talking these runs. That is because for my run to be legal, I had to have my mic muted. My ability to express my personality was very limited, but trust me when I say I was the one behind the controller. Submitting this run, however, proved to be a bit problematic. As a content creator, we have very big file sizes. I hardly had the space on my PC to record over 5,000 or so of my failed attempts onto my hard drive. Thus, my first submission onto the leaderboards was a bit lengthy, as it contained a bunch of failed attempts, as well as my successful one. The moderator of the competition left a note for me explaining that normally this would invalidate my run, but he'll let this one slide. A bit embarrassing on my part, truth is, though I didn't want to open up my editing software and crop out all the failed attempts from the raw footage, as I was afraid that it would invalidate my run. So I just submitted the raw footage out of fear of the speedrunning FBI kicking down my door and throwing horseshoes at me. From then on, I would record each run separately after setting up a keybind on OBS to start and stop the recording, so that my sanity would remain intact through all this. All I'd simply need to do, so that my PC survives this ordeal, is to take an occasional trip to the recycling bin. Anyways, my run was squeezed out after about an hour or so of attempts to achieve something called the one cycle. What is a one cycle, you may ask? Well, you see here, when the boss leaps off screen and attacks you while being completely immune to physical abuse? The concept of a one cycle was to kill the boss before he could do that. On my grind, I discovered a lot of goofy intricacies of the boss's AI. For starters, in my run, I discovered that I could have the boss stay grounded longer if I was positioned to the left of him after his first attack rather than the right. This run instantly put me in second place, just under a Friendly Bear's position on the leaderboards. Needless to say, I was feeling pretty confident. I decided to conclude the day and go to bed as it was getting late. I woke up on day 2 feeling fresh and relaxed, and wanted to get started on my search for the 1 cycle. Though that relaxed part was about to drastically change, as I woke up to another important character by the name of Inferno Raz posting this. Quickly scrolling through the chat, I began to realize my worst fears have become a reality. My second place position was instantly in jeopardy as a professional reviewed my footage and learned new technology that they did not know they had access to. What the speedrunners had essentially learned from me is that we had access to a special ability now, the Corvian Slam. This was not originally available in the boss demo when it originally released, but this must have been added to the player's loadout of abilities after the update of sorts. I mean, I don't know when this was exactly added. There's no changelog for me to determine this, so, you know. And since I discovered this, I was the first person to discover this somehow, everyone had been integrating this into their own runs, as well as my strategy for sub-damage. You see, at the end of day 1, I had a question for the experts. I wanted to know the damage values for everything in the player's loadout, because the game does not explain that. I will show the damage values here. With this information, I was able to calculate what moves I could perform to dish out the maximum amount of damage in the least amount of time. Knowing the scythe does more damage than an ability on every third swing was crucial intel for everybody. What I started doing was integrating an ability attack every time I was certain I was not able to complete a full scythe combo, for that, juicy extra 0.5 damage. That was mainly my strategy. It was normally unreachable by just spamming the attack button. Now, I had a crisis on my hands. This Inferno Raz guy had expertly utilized my moves and made them better. I needed to squeeze out another personal best and fast, or else I may lose my second place position permanently. So I got back to the grind. If I could find the 1 cycle now, I would instantly overtake them all and achieve first place. But as I kept going, I realized a terrible truth about this boss. There was RNG involved. See those spears right there when the boss leaps off screen? Those go from left to right, and there's an inverse of that attack as well. If you get either of those 2 attacks, your run is forfeit. Not to mention, the boss randomly decides it wants to do an additional attack off screen just to screw with you, which is also a run killer, without a doubt. It would take winning 4 separate dice rolls in the game's code on a particularly good run to get a world record. Everyone was losing their minds with this. The RNG was not good this day. To cope with this grim purgatory we all found ourselves in, I started talking with my competition. I would come to see Inferno Raz and the Friendly Bear as friendly rivals of mine, much akin to how me and Delta particularly behave around each other. The only difference is a Friendly Bear was in the exact same situation as I was. This was both of our first time speedrunning. I was determined. I not only wanted to get top 5, but I wanted to get top 5 with the both of them. I wanted to meet them at the finish line. And eventually, this happened. was getting faster, stronger. This secured me 3rd place on the leaderboards. But I wanted more. And after more theory crafting, Inferno-Raz got the world record. From this video, it became increasingly apparent that letting yourself get hit by the boss to enter a hit stun state was necessary for world record. Though Scythe Pogo was a natural weakness of mine at the time, so I needed to practice. At some point, I managed to sub-optimally recreate what Inferno-Raz had done and resecured my 2nd place position once again. Though I won't show this run because my next run far outshines anything I thought was possible among my capabilities. At this point in the race, a friendly bear was just behind me by a few milliseconds, and was building momentum. This guy was cooking. At the time, it did not seem that one cycle was possible at all. We all had to inevitably attend the Crowsworn lottery. At this point, I began to start taking notes on a text document on my PC. I recorded every observation and began crafting my plan. With RNG gatekeeping all the good runs, it would surely be a shame if a content creator with a limitless well of good RNG were to just, I don't know, snag world record from everyone. Oh, would you look at that? After securing world record and performing my signature Corbian slam on the ground as a means to carve my name onto this, I was absolutely terrified. I never wanted world record. I got this by pure accident. I just wanted to secure 2nd and permanently. I held this record for about 16 hours on speedrun.com, hoping that somebody would take this from me. I did not want it. I couldn't hold on to world record forever. Eventually, the experts had to take control. Thankfully, Inferno-Raz, being the ever-persistent rival, managed to shave off a 2nd. At this point in the competition, I was physically getting weaker. You see, I had been grinding, studying, and taking notes so obsessively that my fingers were starting to get stiff from the strain of the controller I was holding. My left thumb especially took most of the physical abuse, as that is the thumb used to move the player. This was starting to affect my gameplay. So I started day 3 off taking it easy and reviewing what I wrote down in my notes. I especially loved Step 8 of my plan. Step 8. Congratulations, you have earned yourself the right to be potentially viable for leaderboard position. Now, you will be judged. Alexander Duarte has been watching over you this whole time and knows you have sinned. He is the god that has reign over whether your run lives or dies. You must plead forgiveness to him. If you are to be judged poorly, your run will end as Sir Garen unleashes one whole extra spear attack upon you, killing your good run instantly. If you are spared this fifth wave of spears, will never come, and you may proceed to step 9. As we got closer and closer to the end of the competition, I was at peace with my second place position. Me, Inferno Raz, and the Friendly Bear were all at peace among top 3. Life was good. For now, my hands were allowed to rest. Now, this whole time, I've been showing you my runs as well as Inferno Raz's runs, as we were both fiercely competing with each other. Personally, I was honestly impressed I was even so much as a threat to this guy. I just earned speedrunner status overnight at this rate. Peace, however, did not last though, as a Friendly Bear, along with the help of another character by the name of Cario02, began theory crafting in secret. A Friendly Bear began to cook. Unfortunately for me, in my weakened state, God just got out of Olive Garden. It was over for me. A Friendly Bear had done it. He had proven the mythical 1 cycle was possible, shaving off a whole 9 seconds from the world record. I was too weak at the time from grinding. I don't even think I ate anything that day. After this video, everyone but me was getting a 1 cycle run submitted. This was it for me. The despair set in as I sadly ate a cherry Pop-Tart in my hand. If I wanted top 5, I had to risk permanent damage to my hands to achieve a 1 cycle. Do not do this ever, by the way. I took a big risk that could have permanently altered the state of the channel. I began picking up the controller and grinding hours in vain. I thought I was defeated at first, but eventually I pulled it off using some advice from a Friendly Bear. By 8 PM, I got my first 1 cycle. I was back in the top 5 again, but how long would that last? With my second wind expended, my hands were in a state where my fingers lost all sensation. Your body has this funny way of telling you that you're doing a stupid, so my sense of touch was gone. As I am making this video, it is slowly returning, but I think the worst part about this was my left thumb. I now had a blister on the part where I was holding the thumbstick on my controller. Victory was temporarily achieved, but I went back to the rules page to see how long I had to hold my ground to win. I think the competition at this point had around 18 or so hours left of life left. It was not looking good for me. I decided going to bed, seeing as my fatigue would eventually be the death of me. This was it, the final stretch. At this point, some random character by the name of Remsky had stolen world record. This will remain the world record until the competition's completion. As well, 98% of the RNG was removed from one cycle. There was still a barely visible trace of RNG at the boss's disposal to stall us. With the last of my energy, I made a sub-20 run and got 5th place on the leaderboards. Time was running out, and I could not beat my own time, as my weakened physical condition permanently impaired my ability to hit sub-20 again. My victory was left up to fate now, as ultimately, the last hour of the run, I decided to set down my controller for the good of the channel. Tragically, at the last 30 minutes of the competition, 5th place was inevitably stolen from me by a German streamer by the name of Merx. He had taken 3rd place, bumping me down to 6th place, just under the win condition. I ultimately decided it wasn't worth it, and accepted defeat. Even if I did resecure 5th place in those last 30 minutes, I would be stealing Inferno Raz's spot, which was not something my compassion would allow me to do. I wanted to be top 5 with Inferno Raz and a Friendly Bear, as they both were particularly supportive of my blind endeavor. Alas, all that work I put in was all for naught. I should be disappointed, and yet, instead, I'm at peace. I challenged professional speedrunners, and if you look at the leaderboards now, you can see that I was a serious threat to their position. Not only has this experience opened my eyes to the true skill ceiling I behold at my fingertips, but I am most certainly sure Delta and Marsum might be a little startled at my abilities. I did not win, and yet I didn't lose either. From this point onwards, I consider myself one of Crowsworn's elite players. That may not be recognized, but I think me and some of the runners would agree I've earned this due to the effort I put in. After crashing from the physical strain, I got a DM on Discord from a certain Friendly Bear pleading with Leth, one of the developers of Crowsworn, to allow me to show up for the stream since he himself won't be able to attend. He saw how much desperate effort I put into this and felt I deserved it, I suppose. He only wanted the Steam keys after all, and due to how limited access those are, who could argue? I find it poetic how me and Friendly Bear were in the exact same situation. Two gamers, new to speedrunning, taking a chance to challenge the impossible. In a way, Friendly Bear was the version of me that succeeded. I think it was a rite of passage into Crowsworn's Elite to achieve a sub-20 one-cycle run, but even if you don't hit sub-20, the one cycle is satisfying enough to tell everyone that your skill is not to be underestimated. Trust me when I say, the one cycle is not easy to pull off. I really hope Leth decides to DM me soon, since unfortunately I did not make the cut at the last possible moments, but Leth is a busy guy, so if I don't hear from him, then it's no sweat to me. While I had some questions prepared for him on stream, I suppose the real motivation of mine was to interact with Inferno Raz and everyone and share stories about our runs. Kind of like what I'm doing right now with this video. That said, no matter what happens, I am content. If any of you runners out there are watching this video, thank you for sticking to the end and supporting my efforts. You were an inspiration. If I ever do speedrunning again though, I might pace myself a little better with more frequent breaks. I'm going to need my hands for whatever adventures I seek next on the channel. I'll see you all in Left's livestream. Smile for me. That's my dream too.